Hey everyone, welcome back to another awesome episode of the Brave Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm so excited you're here. I am Jena Rodriguez, your host, and I'm your brand business and brave strategist. And I absolutely love working with entrepreneurs globally to catapult their brand clarity and really help them with profit enhancement strategies to build the business that supports them in their freedom lifestyle. So that's what I'm all about. And I am absolutely all about the brave. And I love bringing on guests that share that same motto and that same journey as I have. Certainly their stories are different, but brave is a common thread. It's how do you get your brave on and stay in the game of entrepreneurship? And today is no exception. I have another awesome episode and with Brian. And welcome, Brian Basilico. How are you? I got to make sure I get your last name right.
I'm fabulous, Jena. How are you?
You're like, whatever. It's the end of the day here.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I've been called worse. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, right. And I know you because of the bacon system. So I'm like, I always want to call you Brian Bacon. Like
that works for me. Yeah, I could be a bacon brother.
You could be a Brian Bacon. So welcome. Thanks for doing this. And we hadn't talked since I was on your podcast. And so it's just really great to be able to reciprocate. And I appreciate you being here.
Vice versa. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your audience.
Yeah, perfect. So let's first start with, of course, who you are. Give us a little more intro and what your business and life is all about. And then you can kind of back into how you got here. What's the backstory?
Sure, absolutely. Well, currently my business is all about teaching and training people how to do online marketing.
Perfect.
So I really help people with the big picture, websites, Google Analytics, anything that they need, blogging, podcasting, creating ebooks. It's actually about creating a system, and that's what the Bacon system is about, is really building a system that's repeatable so that people can do this on a regular basis. And once they learn how to do it, they do it on their own. They don't need to have the constant hand-holding. Yeah. So that's what I built it upon, and I do that through online classes, through live classes, which we were talking about before, webinars, seminars, you name it. So it's been a fun journey, and I love where I'm at because I found out that my superpower is teaching. That's what I'm really good at, and what I know how to do, and really take complex concepts and turn them into something that's easy to digest. And just about every small business person can understand it.
Yeah, simple as bacon, right?
Right, exactly. Sizzling hot, baby.
Yeah, I love it. And we were talking about this right before we got started here, and just what an opportunity we have, and I think people miss the boat and the opportunity that online marketing has, but it is not always the most comfortable, and it's not always the first thing that we, gravitate towards. I mean, I grew up in the belly to belly, right? You go and network, and you you go meet people face to face, and you have a phone call, and you do all these things in order to connect with people versus using social media and using, the tools that we have that's just so powerful. Yep. And so I'm curious, I guess, kind of how you got to online marketing, and has this always been your kind of path, and where did you come from?
Yeah, well, I actually opened my first business at 18. It was a recording studio in my dad's basement. I did some corporate stints, and I've run my own commercial recording studio and worked for other people, and then finally opened up this company in 2001. So it's been 16 years I've been running this business.
Got it.
And one of the things I always like to say is business is built on principle and tactics. All right. Yeah. Principles are something that never changes. And I'm going to give you an example. When I started my recording studio back in 1979, 1980, okay, I was doing social media back then. But it was different. Sorry. That's okay. Well, you just got somebody.
I got a notification.
There you go. You got some social media. It never stops, right? But social media back in the 80s is I had a dot matrix printer, and I would print out stories, and I would put them on an 11 by 17 sheet of paper, and I would glue them into place, and I'd put a header on it, and I'd fold it over. I'd take it to a printer, and they would ship it out and mail it to people. And you talked about face-to-face networking. That's all we had. We had no computers. We had no cell. So Those are the principles. I mean, the social media principles have never changed. It's writing compelling stories. It's teaching people things. It's being a thought leader. It's being an expert. None of that stuff has ever changed, and it never will. The only thing that's changed is the way we deliver it now. Is the technology.
The how. Yeah.
Right. So Facebook is an extension of face-to-face marketing. LinkedIn is the same. I mean, all of those tools are really just a way to stay in contact with people faster and better than if you had to go out to do meetings all the time, because Lord knows we don't have time to meet 24/7, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how I got started. And this business, when I started, there was no Facebook. There was no nothing.
Yeah.
I was doing business card CDs. That was my business.
I remember those too.
Yeah. So, but as social media started to kind of climb in, I started taking all of the things that I've learned over the years and started to incorporate it, learn it. And I call myself today a professional student because I'm constantly having to learn things. Yeah. And then I teach it to people. That's essentially what my business has been built on, is learning the technology and teaching people how to use it effectively so that they can create the business of their dreams.
Yeah. You and me both. Like, this is so powerful because I think, and you clearly have been doing it a long time in this kind of arena and watching it change and watching it shift and then being able to shift with it. But I think it's really powerful to anchor is that if you can find, it's just, the principle, like you said. So it's even like the sales philosophy. The sales philosophy really hasn't changed. It's just how we do it and how we really speak our story and captivate people. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the opportunity, is to open your mind to shifting with what's new and how it's done, but keeping the principles alive. Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. What is, so, like I said, you've been at this for a long time, so I would gather you've had some very brave moments along the way. What is your biggest brave moment that has, you've had to come through?
Oh boy, there's so many. We could spend 2 hours doing that. But, the one that started this business is I was a few days away from getting married, my second marriage, which we've been married 16 years. And, my boss asked me into his office at an ad agency and basically said, I got to let you go. And this 2 days before my wedding. And I'm like going, what am I going to do?
Permanent vacation, permanent honeymoon.
Exactly. Yeah. Which of course didn't start things off on the right foot. But then I said to myself, you know what? You know a lot. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps and figure out, what does the world need? I mean, that's the bottom line is you've got to solve other people's problems. So what are people looking for? What are the needs out there? And so, when I say business card CDs at the time, it was taking little videos and putting them on there. So shooting video, putting it on CD business cards, duplicating them, getting them out there. And so I started the business running that way. It was just, I had to make the decision to say, you know what, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. I'm talking all Texas stuff now, pulling it by your bootstraps, bull by the horns. But it's, I really had to take charge of my own destiny, because working for other people, my wife says it best. She says, Brian, you don't play well in that sandbox. And I don't.
Go make your own playground, right?
Exactly. So that's really what it was, is just having the confidence, the self-confidence to say, I needed to do this. Yeah. Probably the second bravest thing that I did along the process was realize that I was in need of help. So
got it.
That's when I started to say, you know what, it's time for me to start investing in myself and hire some coaches who know how to do what I don't know how to do, to teach me how to do it faster.
Yes.
So that I didn't have to learn from the school of hard knocks, because I was bruised so bad, from all the trial and error. And then once I started getting into hiring coaches, my business just blew up. It accelerated so much faster.
Yeah.
So it was having the faith to spend the time, spend the money, and find the right people to help me grow myself and my business.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought this in, because I can agree, that's absolutely where I was at one point, where The first business crashed and failed, and you know my story, but and I didn't have a coach. I didn't even know it existed. I didn't even know it was an option out there. It was very, I think, not as prevalent. And that's exactly what I've turned myself into, is that coach, that person that can help accelerate. Right. And so for you're teaching people, you're like short circuiting, everything that people have to learn about online marketing or LinkedIn or whatever it is you're teaching. Right. So that they can just get there in a more expedient fashion if they do the work, right? If they take what you taught.
That's ultimately it, is you can give people, all the training in the world, but the bottom line is up for them to execute. So there's two key things that you have to really think about when you're thinking about coaching. There's so many different coaches.
Yeah, for sure.
There's life coaches, there's gym coaches, there's football coaches, and then there's general business coaches.
Yep.
What you've got to figure out is, what do I need to solve? The first coach that I hired after I wrote my book was a marketing coach who helped me promote my book.
Right.
And get out there and speak about it and get to gigs where all of a sudden I started building credibility. And then, I went to different coaches. I realized that I had a problem with sales. I sucked at sales. I was afraid of it. I hated taking people's money. I felt like I was robbing them.
Yes.
And then, then all of a sudden, it was like, no, what you got on. And this is one of my favorite lessons that I've ever learned is, coach said, here's a dollar bill. Do you realize what this is? And I said, yeah, it's a dollar bill. She says, no, it's a certificate of appreciation. The more you produce results for people, the more they're going to appreciate you with these.
I love that.
Whoa. I said that, that completely changed my mindset on sales, because I wasn't selling anything. I was providing solutions.
Yeah.
And I could charge more for it because I could give people bigger solutions. I mean, I've got some clients that within, the first couple of months and results are not typical. She ended up getting $70,000 in new business in literally a month and a half, just by changing certain things. And, the investment she made in my services and training was like well worth it. And I've seen that time and time again. And then I found a systems coach, somebody who helped me systematize my business. And now I'm working with a pure mindset coach. I've always had a series of coaches to deal with specific issues. And one of my favorite sayings in life is, every doctor needs a doctor, every mentor needs a mentor, and every coach needs a coach.
Yeah, I love that. I second that, or third that, or fourth that.
Whatever.
We need to put that on a billboard, make sure everybody knows it. I actually have two coaches simultaneously, called a mindset coach and a strategy coach that knows how to help me scale, and you're right. It's clearly knowing what you need, who what kind of coach you need to approach that next phase. And I think that's a smart way to do it. But I'm with you. Like, everything changed once I invested in myself. Right. Everything changed. And this conversation around, money is an appreciation. We've heard this, right? Where it's like, if you can just show people, add more value to people's lives in whatever way, they'll pay for it, right? Right. They'll appreciate it and exchange money for it. And, right. And I think what's funny, I don't know if you also see it this way, but I would say the money that I pay, I appreciate that person or that exchange, meaning who I'm paying.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm using the money transfer. Right?
Absolutely.
It's a two-way. Yeah.
Right. 100%. It's an investment. When you look at the money that you're spending as an investment versus an expense, then it becomes of value.
Yeah, it becomes valuable for sure. And the dividends. There's dividends, people.
It's your mental 401k.
Yes. There was something, I'm about to lose it. So hold on. There was something you just said. Hold on. Reveal to me. What is it? That I wanted to come back to. The results. Yeah, thank you. There it is. It came through. Results aren't typical.
Right.
So I'm like, why does that have to be true? Why is it that there's this percentage? I've seen it in my circles, my masterminds, my group coaching, things like that, where there's this only small percentage that really turn it on.
Right.
And have you been able to identify what the difference is between the percentage that turn it on? You know, if you got 10 people and one or two make 75,000 in a month and the rest don't, what is the difference? Why do we have it this way?
Well, there's a couple of different reasons. And
Okay.
the first reason is, I would say it would be self-confidence in the fact that they're not believing in themselves enough to say that it's going to work.
Yep.
The other thing is BSOS, which is bright, shiny object syndrome. They say, ooh, let me try this. Let me try this. Ooh, there's a Facebook ads thing. Let me go spend some time on Facebook ads. And it's like, no, it's
Not
like
now.
they don't follow through, and they don't get. And then I think the third piece of this puzzle is dedication and willing to give it some time. Because if you want something to happen like that, you better pay a heck of a lot of money for it, and chances of seeing an ROI on that are slim.
Yeah.
Everything boils down to, I always tell my clients, it's going to take you 3 months to really get your arms around this. And it's going to take you 6 months to start seeing the return on investment. And that scares some people.
Yeah.
But you know what? I had one client who was with me, and 3 months into it, he just, all of a sudden the light bulb went off. And he's one of those guys that is seeing the results. He is,
Right.
he's a custom home builder. So,
Got it.
remodeling, all it takes for him is one kitchen, one bath, one basement, and he's made his money back. It's not a big deal. But he said to me, finally, he says, I understand why it takes so long. There's a lot of moving parts, and I've got to retrain myself to do things differently.
Yeah.
So people have to be willing to break themselves down in order to build themselves up. And that's where I think the biggest mindset problem is.
And it's like, I know being a coach that I get really, really committed, number one, to the results of my clients. Like, that's what I'm there for them, holding the space for them.
Right.
And then sometimes I get emotional about it.
Oh, I do too.
I want them to win, and yet I can't do it for them. It's like so frustrating.
And I try in a lot of ways. Like, for example, like I do repetitive coaching. I have a bacon system class that keeps going every quarter. And the people that were in it the last time, if I don't see them having results, I'll invite them back. As long as I have open slots, I'll say, come on back and take it again. And they'll take it again, and they won't show up. Or they won't use the one-on-one coaching. They'll pay for it, and they just don't use it. And it's like, you can't change people that way. All you can do is focus on the ones that are going to be successful. And I try like crazy to pre-interview people and say, do I think this person has potential?
Yeah, sure.
That's really it. If I don't feel I can make them successful in one way, shape, or form, I generally won't take them on, because the last thing you need out there is a naysayer saying, well, that person sucks. They can't deliver anything. Well, it's maybe because you didn't try.
It's a two-way street. Yeah. Yeah, it's like we're sitting here making the results in our life and making a result in however many, handful or a small percentage of, and I always am looking at what is it about the percentage that doesn't. And I definitely believe it's a big, huge portion of its mindset and emotional maturity and emotional resilience.
Right.
I was just talking to a client, and we were on her call, and we were she was kind of going in. She actually had great success. She doubled her income last year, and so these things are great. And then she had this hesitation about making a bigger goal this year and doubling again. And I said, well, what's that about? And she said, I don't know if I can handle what that requires of me, kind of thing. I said, well, thank you for saying so. I said, I call this your upper limit resilience. You have to be willing to stretch yourself again and really get your brave on. And when we do, then we got to put things in play. I said, great. And I said, the one thing we're working on this year with you is to build team and build support, because you can't do it on your own at this level. You can't scale, right? And and then immediately, so that mindset shift in that second, she's like, okay, now I can see it's possible.
Right.
So mindset, I think, is huge of why so many don't quite get there, or they look outside of, they look at the coach, or they look outside of themselves and say they didn't do something instead of really taking the responsibility for it. And
agreed.
So I'm on a mission to kill that. Results aren't typical.
Well, and we all are,
Right.
but the reality of it is that you're dealing with people, and people
Yeah.
are complex.
Human behavior. Yeah.
And their life happens. I had one person in the middle of coaching go through a divorce, and
Yes.
and they
Yeah.
stopped, and it was
Life.
like, and then they went down the tubes, and then they came back up like a phoenix, and then succeeded.
Yeah.
So it's life happens. It's so hard to say, but ultimately you got to keep believing in them, and hopefully they'll do it.
Yeah. I always say I believe in you when you can't. That's what I tell my clients, right?
Right.
I'll believe in you when you struggle with it.
Right.
So, hold the space. So what would you say has been your your biggest failure? And how did you deal with the fear and the failure?
Oh boy, probably my biggest failure in this particular business, because I've had a few, was when I decided to open up a hosting company, and I was hosting a whole bunch of websites, and it was on an independent server, and the server got hacked, and everybody lost their websites, and they lost their email, and I was dealing with screaming people, and it literally cost me $10,000 and almost cost me my marriage because I was going crazy.
Wow.
It was huge.
Yeah.
And because I was trying to make $10 out of crack, thinking if I could fill up, 100 of these people, make $1,000 a month and all this other stuff. And, I think the biggest lesson learned from that is it was not my strength.
Right.
It was a desire. It was something I knew how to do, but it wasn't a strength. So that's when I focused on saying, okay, I'm not going to be a technical person. I'm going to be an educator. And that's when my business really kind of flip-flopped.
And it's like, thank you for the failure.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, there's two kinds of people in the world: people that embrace failure and people that learn from it.
That's right. It's not. Somebody said, it's not. You don't always win, but you win, and but it's not about losing. It's about the lesson.
Right. Exactly.
So if you look at it that way, it's winning or lesson.
Right. Always.
I get. Yeah. Well, congratulations, number one, for seeing the light and,
thank you.
Kind of moving through that. And I know that took a lot of brave to not just go, turn around and pivot and go all the way back to whatever, corporate or whatever you might go back to, and just stay the course and figure it out. So
it was close.
Yeah. Especially to save the marriage, I'm sure.
Right.
Right.
It was close.
It's a mess up. But I'm with you. I get that. And I think people listening need to hear that although you've made it where you are and it's like we have to come through things sometimes, and it's your resilience that's going to really tell the story.
Right.
So yeah, congratulations on that.
But going through it is so painful.
It sucks.
It really does.
It really does.
But you know what? As long as you've got the right attitude of gratitude, you're going to figure it out. There's a lesson in there that has to be learned. And now all of the websites are hosted with a company that really know what they're doing.
Like that's what they do.
And honestly, I make more money on affiliate income than I did on the server income. So actually, it's better. So I've learned to adapt and actually serve my clients better and serve myself better. I don't lose sleep at night over that.
Yeah, that's great. That's brilliant. Yeah. So it was a blessing in disguise. I'm clear, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So as we close out here, I know we could go on and on.
Yes, we could.
This is great. Is what is, I guess the question is, if you are looking ahead, right, mm-hmm. You're looking ahead at, the next couple years or what have you. Yes. Put your visor on. Is what do you feel is your next brave? Like what's really going to be the next thing you've got to kind of step up to?
The next brave. Well, I have like the goal, the big goal is to be a speaker at all of the best golf resorts in the world, speaking to sales teams where I get all of my stuff comped, including free golf.
Nice. You're a golfer. I got it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I could golf at all these great resorts and give speeches and get paid tens of thousands of dollars for doing it. My next brave is really getting to the point where I feel like I can talk to those people from a place of expertise, and value. And so at this point, I don't know that I have that yet, but I know I'm working towards it. And I actually do have a step-by-step plan of trying to get to that place. I could pivot halfway through it and maybe never get to that particular thing, but what the next thing will be will show itself through the process of trying to achieve that goal.
Yeah, right. It's like, I think we have to decide what is the vision, what is the goal, what's the current vision, right? And be willing for it to mold and to evolve and to grow or expand or change. I mean,
right.
It's like, but if you don't have one, you don't have this pulling force, to pull you towards something and to help you overcome any brave or fear or hesitation. Right. So I think you've got it. I don't think there's anything missing personally.
No, I don't either, but it's a matter of being in the right places at the right time, getting to know the right people, building up the credibility. I mean, I've got tons of it with 4 books and, the speeches that I do give, and I have no problem standing up in front of an audience of 1,000 people. I've played guitar all my life. So, whether I got a guitar in my hand or a microphone standing there telling everybody things that I've learned, it's the same thing. So it's a natural state for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I see it. I see it happening for sure.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you for kind of exploring that, answer with me. That was awesome. And so what is the best way that people can connect with you?
Well, the best way to connect with me is just Google my name, Brian Basilico. Yes, Brian Basilico. There's only 2 of us that I'm aware of in the United States. One's a kid who's a hockey player, and then there's me. And everything that you'll find, my blogs, my podcasts, my websites, everything will be found on the first page by doing that.
Got it. Perfect. Yeah, I think, people listening should definitely reach out to you and connect with you. You've got amazing trainings coming up, and especially if they're tackling this online world at a higher level. So I know you had some kind of assessment that you wanted to talk about. Yes.
Yeah. So I have this basic, it's a basic tool for any business, and it's called my free internet marketing assessment. You can get it at baconcoach.com/assessment.
Free assessment, right?
baconcoach.com free assessment.
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, no, it's free assessment. Yeah.
Perfect.
I forgot the free. So it's free assessment. And what it does is it just helps you go through everything. It talks about your online presence, your website, your social media, YouTube video. It really kind of lays things out and then gives you a score. And at the end of it, you could say, okay, maybe these are some of the things I need to work on. It's a really easy, and it's not pitchy. It's just a straightforward check the box, add the number, and then you can go back and look and say, maybe I want to work on a few of these things.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love assessments. It's just, always checking in with yourself of where you are, and you can have a clue as to where to go. So perfect. We'll put that in the show notes as well, but everybody, can visit baconcoach.com/free assessment and check you out. And so thank you for that gift for our audience listening and watching today. And I have one final question, and that is, if this was your last interview ever, forever, this was it, and last chance to tell the world that final message that you really want people to get, what would that message be?
Oh boy. Let's see. Yesterday is past, tomorrow is the future, and today is the present, so make the most of it.
Today's the presents and the gifts.
Yep, right? Exactly. Yes. Today is the present. Yes.
Yeah. Count your presents.
Exactly. Yeah. Be present in everything.
Yeah. I love it. That's perfect. I think that's a great note for us to close out on. And I really appreciate your time, Brian. Thank you so much for reconnecting with me today. And this has been really fun. So
Jena,
thank you so much.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you for the opportunity, and I appreciate it very much, too.
You are so welcome. Yeah, absolutely. And to everyone watching, please give us feedback, give us some comments or notes, or reach out to either one of us and let us know what's shifted for you after this interview. And until next time, let's go get our brave on. Bye, everyone.